Welcome back to another episode of the Jays with Them podcast. I'm your host Jaden, and today we're going to be talking about the Detroit Lions and why they are building something special there. I've talked about the Lions a bunch on this show. I really love what they've done there over the last couple of years. I mean, started off hiring Dan Campbell to be the head coach, and bringing him in, and then building through the draft as they've done, making the trade for Jared Goff. Sending Matthew Stafford over to the Rams, and I think on an overall grand scheme of things, we can look at this now and say that this was a win-win trade for both teams. It may not have equated to a Super Bowl for the Lions as it did with the Rams immediately following the trade, but it could get there for Detroit, and we'll get to that in a second. But like I said, yeah, I just want to talk about that and how I'm just so impressed with how they're building that team up there in the Motor City. So before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on the right corner of your screen. Make sure you follow us on all the socials, that be TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it may be. Yes, we're all on all those platforms. So make sure you check us out there, Jay Spit Down Pod. Follow us there and turn on those post notifications. Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite audio versions of your podcast, so you'll know when we post, as well as all those other things. So just a few housekeeping things before we get started. But yeah, make sure you do that and check out my books, all available on Amazon. Of course, I put a link in the description below. But other than that, guys, yeah, let's get started off with this episode, man. So, like I said, the Detroit Lions. This is a franchise that's been through a lot over the last 30 years or so. They haven't really, up until last year, they had made the playoffs in a long time. I believe it was 2016, something like that. It had been a while since they made the playoffs. And it's been a while since they reached the NFC conference championship, as well. So it's like, or anything like that matter. It's been a while since they had a success in the postseason. Let's put it that way, to put it bluntly. Um, so they make the trade to get Jared Goff over from the Rams, a guy who had won the Super Bowl not too long ago himself in 2018, didn't do too well and lost against the Patriots. So now, over the next couple of years with Sean McVay, Jared Goff was just pretty much putting up average numbers. As the Rams are still trying to figure themselves out as a roster, as a team. Sean McVay still trying to figure himself out as a coach, but when he finally did figure everything out, it unfortunately for Jared Goff meant that he would need to go somewhere else because that they believe that he was not the answer to win immediately. They believe that Matthew Stafford was the answer to um sorry guys the answer to win immediately. So they went and got him through the trade. Um, and along with that, Detroit brought in Jared Goff, and of course the Rams brought in Matthew Stafford. They wouldn't won the Super Bowl that year against Cincinnati, a thriller. Lions didn't do too much the next 2 years, but in the 2023 season, starting off with a week one win against the Kansas City Chiefs, a statement win. They went on to have a great season and make the NFC conference championship game against the 49ers. And this was a team. Jared Goff, I mean, did great for as far as being quarterback. He threw for 4,575 yards, 30 touchdowns, 12 picks. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a great season as well, over 1,000 yards. Aiden Hutchinson played well on the defensive line. Offensively, they just Jahmyr Gibbs was a really bright spot as a rookie. They got a lot of good production out of him, Khalif Raymond. So overall, I just love what Ben Johnson and that offensive staff did with the in Detroit. How they were able to maximize Jared Goff and the weapons around him, and they were able to win football games enough to get them into the playoffs. And they will go all the way to the conference championship game, lose to the eventual Super Bowl apparent runner ups in the 49ers. But I mean, I call that a very successful season for Detroit, and I just love what they're building. They're building something special in Detroit, with the Lions. They're building something very special there. You know, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they're doing a great job through the draft as they've been picking up these players. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown was a huge steal back in the fourth round or so, something like that in 2021. He was a big steal. I mean, this guy. It's funny, he named all the receivers that are taking ahead of him, and he just got paid himself. Big payday. As a lot of the receivers have been getting paid lately. So Justin Jefferson just got paid today, also big contract. Um, for the Vikings. He's been waiting on it, so they finally got that extension done. So, but staying in the NFC North, particularly focusing on the Lions, this division right now, I mean, it really is. It's Detroit's to lose. I don't see any threat from the Vikings immediately next year, depending. I mean, especially with JJ starting, if he's starting at quarterback, and if Sam Darnold, I just don't see enough right there. The running game, I'm not confident in the running game, for the Vikings. And Chicago, I mean, can make a little noise. I mean, they could make a wild card, but I mean, other than Green Bay is probably the only other legitimate contender that I can see that could threaten the Lions in that division. Other than that, like the Bears and Vikings are just kind of like up for grabs. It's kind of just like wild card, toss it up type of thing. So right now, but Detroit is the clear front runner to come out of this division again, representing one of the candidates to represent the NFC. In the Super Bowl. I think they can definitely do it. You know, they there were some things they struggled with in the conference championship game last year. That I think that if they were to appear again next year, that they would capitalize on those errors and fix them. And I think they would make a good chance at winning and moving on to the big game. You look at the way that these guys are coached and how they're practiced to play hard and how they're taught in practice to play hard and and be physical and violent and the biting kneecaps thing. I love Dan Campbell, man. He's a great coach and he's the type of guy you want running your locker room because he's really preaching to his players, guys. This is how you win in this league. You have to give it your 100% each and every play because the guy across from you is just as good as you or better than you. So you have to give 100% each and every play. You have got to do the things that your opponent is not doing. You've got to prepare the way your opponent is not preparing. You have got to think the way your opponent is not thinking. You've got to play the way your opponent is not playing. And at the end of the day, that determines the greats and the other levels, other tiers in the National Football League. Because talent is really across the board. These guys are professionals for a reason. But anything can happen in this league. So it's the teams who separate themselves by the preparation they put in, and of course talent does play a role. Obviously, look at the Chiefs. I mean, you look at how all the players they have, right? All the great players they have, the great quarterback they have. You need a quarterback to win. But the Lions proved that you don't have to have a Patrick Mahomes to go all the way to the conference championship game. They went with Jared Goff, and that's no hate to Jared Goff. He just got paid a big $212 million contract for 4 years, but he did what was asked of him, ran the offense, how it was supposed to be run, made the throws he needed to make, and lead that team, be the leader, be that voice in the locker room. And those guys they follow him, they support him, they respect him. And when your quarterback is respected and supported by everybody on the team, in the coaching staff, the locker room, wherever, it contributes to a higher morale. Morale plays a huge part of sports. People, like a lot of people don't understand this. Like, it's not just all out on the field talent and coaching and analytics and whatnot. It's also, this is a big part of it. It's also morale. It's also team attitude and the overall camaraderie between the teammates, the players, the coaches, everybody on the staff, custodians, everybody. When the energy is high and good in a franchise, especially in NFL on a team, wherever it is, high school, college, NFL, it can go a long way, because everybody's on the same page. They're all after one goal, which is to get to the Super Bowl, to win it, become world champions, and when everybody has that mindset and they're preparing each and every day with that in mind, then it overall contributes to what they put out on the field, the product they put out on the field, what the coaches put out, as far as making up the game plans for that week and things like that in preparation, and I believe Detroit is on that trajectory right now. Those guys play hard. They play physical. They play hard. They're violent. They love football, and they want to get after it. They want to win. And I think they can do it. I think they can win the big game. I really believe in Detroit. I mean, if not for the 49ers, who are going to be missing some key people this year due to some injuries, I mean, who knows? I mean, who knows what could happen? It's hard to say right now because it's so early in the offseason. But looking at it on the grand scheme of things, like the Lions have a legitimate chance to make Super Bowl to make Super Bowl 59 this year. This upcoming season. I believe they can do it. I really believe they can do it. It's not a long shot to say they can. They just have to go out there and just, win the games they're supposed to win and win a few games that you may not be supposed to win as well. That could help you too because you want that high seed, you want that home field advantage in the playoffs. because that plays a huge role, especially in the Motor City and Ford Field when it's loud up in there. It's hard to beat the Detroit Lions up there. So it'll make for a great great atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, just I I know that this team is capable of doing so much, so much more than what they've been, and they're on trajectory now to do that. They're getting Jameson Williams back from injury. You picking up Terrion Arnold in the draft. Adding to that defense. That's another thing. The Lions, while they were very potent offensively, defensively is where they struggled. So I'm glad they added to the secondary and Carlton Davis from the Buccaneers. Um, Picking up Terrion Arnold in the draft as well, they made efforts to address that secondary, and now, I mean, in the middle level, Jack Campbell from Iowa, he had a great rookie season. Now he's going to be rising up to his sophomore season, so he's been a year in. That plays a role as well. These guys that are they're been a year in. Jahmyr Gibbs will have been a year in now. So it's these things all play a factor, offensively, defensively, special teams. But particularly defensively for the Lions, the only thing I would say for them is we need some extra quarterback pass rushing, generation on the edge besides Hutchinson. Just kind of give add a little bit more of a boost there. That way, it's not all on him, and that offenses can't specifically lock in on him, double him, get him out to play. You don't want that. You want him to be able to feast on those one-on-one opportunities because somebody else is able to also get attention from one or more blockers. So that's my whole take on the Lions, pretty much to kind of sum it up, guys. But this team is building something special, and we are all witnessing it right now. The Detroit Lions have been the laughing stock of one of the laughing stocks of the NFL for the past 30 years, but it has ended. This team is serious. They're legit. They're coming for that title. You heard it here right now. We all know it. They're going for the big ring. So shout out to the Detroit Lions. And yeah, make sure you guys check us out here on the channel. We're gonna be posting more. So just hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications for, like I said, audio podcasts and things like that. So when we post content. Follow us on TikTok, Jay Smith Down Pod, on Instagram, Jay Smith Down Pod, on Twitter, same thing, Jay Smith Down Pod. So just so you know when we post and everything like that. Um, Other than that, guys, yeah, I hope you guys are having a great summer so far. It's kind of been a hot one, at least here for me. So I hope you guys are staying hydrated, staying cool, having fun, doing what you got to do. If you're taking summer classes, hope you guys do good in that, all that kind of stuff. So just stay focused, stay locked in on what you're doing. We'll see you next time on Jay Smith Down. I'm Jaden. See you.